Welcome to the Crimson Chat, your go-to show for the most inspiring stories straight from the heart of the University of Kansas. I'm Jaden Hill, and today we have another exciting lineup featuring a KU alumni leading groundbreaking Alzheimer's research and a passionate undergraduate biochemist whose personal journey fuels her drive for discovery. In today's episode, we'll sit down with Dr. Michael Wolfe, a professor of medicinal chemistry in the School of Pharmacy, who is uncovering the molecular science behind Alzheimer's and working on therapeutic treatments. Then we will hear from Arafi, a KU junior whose personal experiences have shaped her aspirations in autism research. And of course, we'll wrap things up with a fun KU-themed trivia showdown. Let's dive in. Joining us today is Dr. Michael Wolfe, a KU alumni and professor of medicinal chemistry. He runs a research lab dedicated to understanding the molecular basis of Alzheimer's disease and developing therapeutics to combat it. Dr. Wolfe, welcome to the Crimson Chat. To start, what first drew you to the field of medicinal chemistry? What exactly is that, and how did your journey at KU shape your career?
Well, those are all good questions. So medicinal chemistry is the chemistry of drugs and drug discovery. And I got attracted to that as an undergraduate chemistry student at the Philadelphia College of Pharmacy and Science. I participated in a summer undergraduate research program in medicinal chemistry here at the University of Kansas. So I went from Philadelphia to Kansas, and that exposed me to this science that I knew nothing about at the time, and it inspired me to come back here for graduate school.
Wow, well that's amazing. And we've mentioned that your research focuses on Alzheimer's at a molecular level. Can you break down how that works and how understanding that can potentially help us treat the disease?
Yeah, so it's a tricky problem. We still don't know exactly what is causing Alzheimer's disease. And to understand that, what we're doing is looking at certain genes that are mutated that cause hereditary forms of Alzheimer's disease. They're rare mutations, but otherwise the pathology and the presentation and the progression of the disease is the same as people with regular Alzheimer's disease associated with old age. So this is an early onset form of the disease, and these mutations are found in an enzyme, in genes that encode an enzyme, and the substrate for that enzyme that produce the amyloid beta peptide. So this is a small, sticky protein that aggregates in the brain, and it's the classical pathological feature associated with Alzheimer's disease. And people have long thought that that is what is triggering the disease. And so we've been studying the process for how that protein is formed, and to address that question, is it really that protein, or is it something about that process? Clearly there's something about that process, because these genes that produce this protein are mutated in the hereditary forms of Alzheimer's disease.
And you mentioned that it's possibly hereditary, or it is. What does that mean, and what does that mean having to do with this protein? Because you said that it's kind of created, so do you have certain genes that then create this protein, or how does that work?
Yeah, so our DNA encodes for a variety of different proteins that serve functions in different cells. And among those are enzymes. So enzymes are the body's little catalysts. And there are certain kinds of enzymes called proteases that cut other proteins. And so this enzyme cleaves a protein that is a precursor to this amyloid peptide. So and those mutations, as I say, they're rare in certain families. They carry these mutations in the gene that encodes for this enzyme, and in the substrate that gets cleaved by that enzyme.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And we've also talked about that you're trying to develop therapeutics. What is a therapeutic, and what does that look like for Alzheimer's, which is a disease that affects our brains?
Yes. So so these and any therapeutic has to get to the brain to stop this process from happening. So that's a very important characteristic of any drug that would be useful for Alzheimer's disease. There are approved drugs. Most of them, by far most of them, work symptomatically. They only block the symptoms temporarily. They don't stop the underlying neurodegeneration that happens in the brain. So that process continues on. Ultimately, those drugs are not effective. So people are looking for, and we're looking for, drug molecules that will stop the underlying process. And so we think, this enzyme is critical to that process. So we want to identify compounds that will interact with that enzyme and correct the dysfunction that's happening, that's caused either by those mutations or by other factors that are going on in what's called the sporadic Alzheimer's of old age.
And can you help us kind of understand the difference between this, like you mentioned, the old age Alzheimer's and then this early onset disease?
Yes.
What is the difference there?
Yeah, so as I say, there seem to be almost identical in terms of pathology, the protein deposits you find in the brain, the presentation, the symptoms that develop, and then the progression of those symptoms. They are the same. But the difference is that people with the early onset form, they have a single mutation that fates them to get the disease and get it early. So it's this hereditary thing that makes it different. And it's also the early onset. Otherwise, it's very similar. So in late onset Alzheimer's disease, common form, there aren't not those mutations. And there it's pretty tricky to figure out what is causing the disease there. We think the early onset forms are a key. It's a simpler problem to solve. We know it's caused by these mutations in these proteins. And so if we can understand that, we think it will provide insight into what's going on with most forms of Alzheimer's.
Absolutely. And as a KU alumni, what is it like to come back here and lead research on something that you're really passionate about?
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I mean, I moved back here 8 years ago. I was a professor of neurology, of all things, at Harvard Medical School before that for 17 years, and I had the opportunity to come back to KU, and I was very excited about that. And we've been able to do things here that I don't believe we would have been able to do easily at Harvard Medical School. There are collaborators here, people who are more open to collaborations, and there are certain facilities here that are available that were not as available to me there. So it's just been a privilege both at the scientific level and at the personal level interacting with my colleagues here.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to hear that you've had such an amazing time at KU, and obviously we're very, very happy to have you. And beyond the lab, what advice do you give students who are interested in pursuing a career similar to yours?
Oh, well, I've taken a kind of an unusual path, so I don't know if, but I would just say, try to know the basics of the sciences. As an undergraduate, I think it's very important to, just know the basics and be open to possibilities. I did not study chemistry and then medicinal chemistry with the idea of working on Alzheimer's disease. That happened later. I'd say just be, prepare yourself well academically, get some laboratory experience if you're interested in that, and be open to new opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, what wonderful advice for all of us. I mean, I think it's important, no matter what field you're in, to be open and take advantage of all the many opportunities, especially as a student. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Wolfe, for coming on the show today, talking to us about what you're doing. And this research is so extremely important, and we're so excited to hear about it. We're going to take a quick break, and afterwards, we'll meet a KU student who is turning her passion for research into a mission for the future. Stay tuned.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Our next guest is Parnian Arafi, a junior studying biochemistry on the pre-med track. Born and raised in Iran, Parnian came to KU to pursue research opportunities. Her motivation, her brother back home, who inspired her to dedicate her future to autism research. Parnian, welcome to the Crimson Chat. What sparked your interest in biochemistry and research, and how did it bring you to KU?
Wow, that's a really good question. So I was only like 15 years old. I was getting ready to participate in biology Olympiad. And I read this amazing book called Linear Biochemistry. And then that was the beginning of understanding that I'm really interested in biochemistry. And this is my area of interest. This is what I'm interested in exploring and all of those things. And then later on, I applied to KU. I've seen so many awesome research opportunities, and then now here I am doing research in biochemistry.
Awesome. And can you describe what exactly is biochemistry? Obviously, we have the biology part, chemistry part. How do those two intersect?
So basically, it's the, as you said, it's interdisciplinary area and combination of biology and chemistry, and just chemistry explanation of all of the biological mechanisms that are happening in our body. And it's just like a molecular, looking at like all the biological mechanisms in molecular and chemistry level.
Awesome. Well, thank you for explaining that. And you mentioned that your brother has been a big motivation for you. Can you share how his story has influenced your decision to focus on autism research?
Yes, of course. So my brother is 11 years older than me. Of course, like when I born, he was there. He was always there, and he's awesome, loving human being, and I love interacting with them. And my mom also has an institution dedicating to help these kind of people. And since my mom also, like my mom's career also was related to autism, I was interested in doing autism research, dedicating my life to understand this disease, and hopefully one day find a cure that is going to alleviate the symptoms that make life for these kind of people harder.
Wow, that's amazing. And to see your family support you in such an amazing way and know that you're working for them has to be awesome. But what's it like to move to another country, go to university here, and be without them?
It was tough. It's just like life is all about sacrifices that we make, and this is part of the sacrifice. Of course, I love my family, I love my brother, but then sometimes life puts you in a situation that it's either you make this sacrifice to make a better future and help more people, or you stay there and then you have them, of course, but then you cannot help the society and community. So my main motivation was to help bigger group of people, and unfortunately or fortunately for me, it means sacrificing my family and seeing them and being around them.
Wow, that's just absolutely amazing and totally inspiring to anyone going into research, and you have given up so much to come here and help people who you're really passionate about, and that's truly amazing. Speaking of your research, what has your research experience been like at KU? What have you enjoyed? What makes it different than other things that you've done? How do you like your time at KU?
I mean, I'm enjoying every second of my time at KU. I've been exploring different labs, and I've been getting myself exposed to like different kind of research experiences. My main focus here was Alzheimer's research, and I've been studying mutations in Alzheimer's disease, and I published a paper over that. But then also I've been exposed to biophysical chemistry research, single molecule FRIT, and also autism research, looking to autism from like psychological standpoint. So yeah, it gave me insight into like different area of research from different point of views, and it's been amazing. I've been enjoying every second of it.
Awesome. I know KU is extremely lucky to have you, and the honors program is extremely proud of you. And looking ahead, we've talked about that you want to continue to do research in autism, but what are the future steps to get there?
So my main goal for now is applying for MD PhD program and being a physician researcher. My focus, of course, is going to be autism, but then I wanted to have this like point of view from a physician, because I always thought that this is going to like give me another level and insight into the disease. So that's my main goal for future.
Absolutely. And lastly, do you have any favorite KU traditions or favorite KU memories that you'd like to share today?
Favorite KU memory? Oh yeah. So I ran this long experiment. It took me 48 hours, and that's what I have here, these like small vials. And then this experiment was really inspiring because I had to come to the lab every 3 hours to reload my samples and make sure that there is not going to be any kind of like differences between my samples. And I really enjoyed this experiment. It was 48 hours long. I was definitely sleep deprived after that, but I enjoyed every second of it, and yeah, I've got awesome results, so it really worth it.
Well, that is some dedication, and thank you so much, Parnian, for joining us and for sharing your story and ambitions. I think all of us are inspired after hearing everything that you've done to work for your family. And now let's switch things up and test our KU guests' knowledge in a fun game show, and we'll do that right after break, so stay tuned.
National champions deserve a clean campus. Don't wait for other Jayhawks to pick up your mess. Keep the University of Kansas clean.
Yeah, I always just clap in this part.
This is where everyone's talking amongst themselves. Do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do it?
Are we supposed to smile?
When do we start? Somebody over here already started.
Can we talk about the piccolo part? It's the most complicated one.
It is. If you listen, you're doing it when the band's not playing.
You have to tell me when it starts. I still don't know.
Here we go. Just clapping now. No humps.
Nailed it.
I practiced this morning.
Mine was just two people.
It has a right and a wrong way of doing it. No. Wrong.
I like my way better.
I don't know how to do the end.
It's just.
I don't know the head.
That's great.
It's hard by yourself. Welcome back to our game show here on the Crimson Chat. My name is Kira Hageman and I'm your host. Today we are playing The Price is Right. Dr. Wolfe and Parnia, it is lovely to have you today. Let's go over the concept of the game. On the next slide, there will be 3 different products, and the contestant who guesses which product is the most expensive wins. So let's get started. Right here is our lovely vending machine, and on the top we have a bottle of orange Fanta soda, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bottles of that. And in our second section, we have a tin of cinnamon Altoids, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those. And on the very bottom, we have Joseph Farms cheese, specifically the Monterey Jack version. And we have 3 blocks of those. So at this time, you can take some time to brainstorm how much you think each item costs. And remember, since there's a different variety and number of each, that's going to change up the number quite a bit. Now, do either of you, we'll start with Dr. Wolfe. Do you have a guess on which one is the most expensive?
Well, that's pretty tough. I mean, by my estimation, they're pretty similar. But I'm going to guess the 9 Fanta sodas.
9 Fanta sodas. Could I see my blank vending machine? So this top for one singular Fanta, we're going to go to the individual price of it. And it's $2.49 for one bottle of Fanta. Now, if we multiply that by 10, that's $24.90. All right, now for Parnia, let's have your guesstimation of what you think the most expensive product is.
I guess Fanta.
You think Fanta as well?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back to the total price of our Fanta again. We are at it's $24.90 for the Fanta. And for our tin of Altoids, a singular tin, let's see the price for that. And we are at $4.49. So we had 8 of those, and the total price for that is $35.92. So far, both of you are incorrect on your guesses, but we never know if that's the most expensive one yet. Let's go to the Monterey Jack block of cheese. The individual price for that, can I see that, please? $6.99. However, there was only 3 blocks of those, so the total price for the cheese is $20.97. That makes our most expensive product the tin of Altoids, 8 cans. Our total price for that being, again, $35.92. I did not know that breath mints could be so expensive.
I didn't either.
I didn't.
Well, it was great having you both on the game show today. Thank you for participating. And, you know, maybe be careful about buying breath mints in the future. We'll see you all on the next episode.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.